some breaking news, should we? And the energy watchdog Ofgem has announced a £139 increase in the energy price cap, meaning higher fuel bills for millions of us. Let's find out about that in more detail, should we? Joining us is the Chief Executive of Ofgem. That's Jonathan Brearley. Hello to you, Mr. Brearley. Thanks for joining us. This is going to be really bad news for a lot of households here in the UK. What's behind it?
Well, we work very closely with many charities and indeed with customers. And so we understand this is a very difficult decision for many households across the country. And what's behind it is the fact that there are record fossil fuel prices globally, not just in electricity and gas, but we also saw the same in petrol and diesel. Now, what the price cap does is it does say that customers need to pay a fair price for their energy, but no more than that. And we're not going back to the bad old days where companies would be adding big profits on top of the price increase we're announcing today. Now, our advice to customers
I just wanted to ask you, who decides what a fair price is? Because a lot of people will be saying these energy companies make a fortune anyway.
Well, what we've seen is the profits of the energy companies have come down dramatically since we introduced the price cap. And actually, across the market, the profit margin is zero right now. So we are making sure that companies charge a fair price. But what we can't do is to ask them to sell energy for less than they have to buy it for. And with those international increases in gas prices, that's what feeds through to the price cap. Now, customers don't need to live with this, though, and our message to them is really clear. Get in touch with your supplier, make sure you're getting access to all the help and support that is available, particularly if you're struggling with your bills. And if you can, get into the market and shop around for the best possible tariff for you.
You acknowledge, though, that people will be pushed into fuel poverty as a result of this?
Well, we know how difficult this is going to be for many customers, but what we can't do is ask companies to sell their energy for less than they buy it for. But there is a great deal of help and support that is available. So one thing we learned during the pandemic, and we were told by charities like Citizens Advice, is that many people don't access the support that's already there. So we'd ask any customer that is struggling, any customer that's worried about going into fuel poverty, to get in touch with your supplier and get access to that support that's available. To give you one example, we have something called the Warm Home Discount Scheme, and that gives people a £140 discount on their energy bill.
Do you acknowledge that people will be forced into fuel poverty as a result of this increase?
So we accept this is going to be difficult for many families, and that's why we encourage people.
So if I may, my question is, do you accept that some families will be forced into fuel poverty as a result of this increase? It's a yes or no question, really.
So we absolutely accept that this is going to be difficult for many families, and we accept this is going to change the economic circumstances within which they live. That's why it's so important that people get in touch with their supplier, because there is help and support that is available. Ofgem have put in place really strict rules that tell those companies they have to treat their customers fairly if they're struggling to pay their bills.
Sure.
Now, 1 million people already are on affordable repayment plans because they're getting behind with their energy payments. Yeah. And equally, those companies should ensure you have access to the debt advice you need. Because one thing we find, Kay, is that people who struggle with their energy bills usually have other debt problems within the household. And that's when we need some of the charities do to help.
With respect, I'm used to ministers not answering my questions, not the Chief Executive Officer of Ofgem. 28% of families with children at home struggled to pay their bills in the last week, according to Compare the Market. My question to you this morning is, does this increase mean that some families will be pushed into fuel poverty? It's a yes or no question.
So we accept that this will change circumstances of families. So yes, we do accept that this is going to be difficult for many families. But my point is, families need to make sure they get access to the support and advice that is available. We have worked very closely with charities, with the energy sector and with the government throughout the COVID pandemic to make sure we look after customers. And what I'm saying today is we will need to redouble our efforts to make sure we continue to do that.
So what do people do if they want to try and find a more competitive tariff?
Well, you can go onto the internet, you can make sure you go to the switching sites that will, in a few clicks, allow you to change to the best possible tariff. And we'd encourage everybody to do that. But we do accept that not all families are able to do that. And that's why we want to make sure that people get access to the wider support that's available. Even if you can't switch supplier, call your supplier and ask them to put on a better possible tariff. And they will do so if they can.
If you can get through. I mean, whenever I've tried to ring my supplier, I'm on hold forever.
Well, the agreement we just made with the industry is that they will redouble their efforts to make sure that we do contact the most vulnerable customers. And in fact, as I've said, during the pandemic, service levels did change as people adapted to the pandemic. But what we're saying to those companies today, and in fact, what they've already signed up to, is to make sure they are proactive in identifying families that are struggling and making sure they get access to all the help and support that's out there. What we are doing and what we want to do with government, with charities, and with the sector is continue to work hard to look after families as yet another impact of the COVID crisis is felt by the energy sector. If we do that, then we will.
Yeah. How much do you regret this increase?
Well, no regulator wants to put up prices under any circumstances. But the point is, we are seeing a massive rise in the fossil fuel prices globally. And we do need to respond to that. We will make sure we don't go back to the bad old days where companies were charging high profits. But what we can't do is ask them to sell their energy for less than they buy it for. So we know this is a difficult change. We know this is going to put families into very, very difficult circumstances. And that is why it's so important that if you are struggling to pay your bill, get in touch with your supplier and get access to all the help and support that's available out there.
OK, thanks for joining us, Mr. Brearley. Appreciate it. I know you've got a busy morning ahead. Thank you.